Everybody's busy though.
Oh, the rush, I forgot the camera. The rush, I forgot to bring the camera. Oh, yeah. You see, the normal driver who brings me, he just said he's not coming. So I was up to all these taxis. It's Thursday night, shopping, של יום חמישי בערב חג, אז כל המוניות עסוקות, אז הייתי עסוק, אז שכחתי את
בלגן.
טוב, כל השגחה פרטית.
ברוך השם. ברוך השם.
טוב, אז אנחנו נוכל להתחיל, כן? Shall we start? So, this evening, we're going to learn or pay attention to a shorter sichum than what we usually learn, because we want to make this a Farbrengen for you to Nissan. So we're going to mention as much as is possible Bekitza, the main theme of the Rebbe Sikha, which in the Dvar Malchus, is this hearable?
Yes.
To people here? Which is from Shabbos Pashat Tzav, Shabbos HaGodel, Tovshin Nun Alef. What Tovshin Nun Beis was Ashnas Ibur. Therefore, it would be different, the whole arrangement. But Tovshin Nun Alef was similar to what we are, just a few days not the same. So therefore, Shabbos HaGodel was the same Shabbos that we have now. So we're going to read some of the main nakudas of the Sikha, and then we'll try to Farbrengen a bit. Shudolov Nissan, that's the Farbrengen. So the Rebbe begins by saying that Tachlis Geulas Mitzrayim hi Gile Elakus Bekvias Po'elom Alidei Avedas B'nai Yisrael. We have to be mizbainan. What was the whole purpose, and what was the whole inyan of taking Yidden out of Mitzrayim, out of the terrible goddess that they were in by the Mitzrayim, and especially the Rebbe makes the point right at the beginning of the Sikha that we are now in Chodesh Nissan. So the Gemara says in Masechta Brachos that if you dream a dream and you see a nun, let's say you dream and you see in your dream a ois nun, then that's a sign that you're going to see Nisim. There's going to be Nisim. Yeah, you're right. However, some of the great Meforshim on the Gemara, they say, what about if you see two nuns? Let's say you see the word Nissan, yeah, it's got two nuns, so then it's Nisei, Nisim, that's going to be double Nisim, Nisei, Nisim. So the Rebbe says, since we're already in Chodesh Nissan, then we can look forward to it, we can expect a conduct of the world, but even shall not just ordinary Nisim, but in Nisim themselves, Nisei, Nisim. Yeah, that's how the Rebbe begins, the whole inyan. And that's very linked with what's explained in Chassidus. And last week in the Sikha, in the Maimah that we learned in Toshin Tov Reish Nun Dalet from the Rebbe Rashab, we learned that the whole conduct of Chodesh Nissan is what's called Hanhoga Nisi. It's like how the Eberster runs the world, even Lamaylam Yateva. And therefore Nissan is like the Rosh Chodesh Nissan is like the Rosh Hashanah for the running of the world, Alpi Nissim. So Mitake said that Rebbe gets onto the whole concept of Yetzias Mitzrayim, which was, as the Alter Rebbe writes, a whole series in Nissim, but the Alter Rebbe says that what happened on Shabbos HaGodel, or what leads to Shabbos HaGodel, that was a very special Nes, and it was the beginning of the Nisei HaGeula. In other words, the Nissim, which have been up to now with all the Esamakois and all those Inyonim, that was all just a, how do you call it, a lead-up. Now, from the Nes of Shabbos HaGodel and further, is the Nissim of the Geula. In other words, mashma, they were different sort of Nissim altogether. So we need to sort of think, you know, what sort of madrigas is there in Nissim? You know, you move from one sort of Nissim to another. So that's one of the main themes of the whole Sikha. So therefore, to get onto that, the Rebbe says that the whole Taklis, why Yidden were taken out of Mitzrayim, what Mitzrayim for us Meita Ugvul, the whole reason was that there should be a union of Gile Elakus Bekvias Po'elom. In other words, up until Yetzias Mitzrayim, there had been a lot of Gile Elakus, but it wasn't so well known in the world, the creation of the world and all the things that happened with Avraham Avinu, all the great things that happened with the Oves and everything. There'd been a lot of Gile Elakus, but it wasn't Nika. It wasn't so. What was the trouble?
It was quiet.
It wasn't so Nika in the whole world, and it hadn't become like a fixed value in the whole world. So the whole idea of taking out of Yidden out of Mitzrayim was to grant them Nissim of a sort that they would be recognizable to all the world. Therefore we find it's written in certain places, when we get to Yetzias Mitzrayim, Vayedu ki ani Hashem. They shall know, referring to the Yidden. But even to the Mitzrayim we find Vayedu Mitzrayim ki ani Hashem. In other words, there was a kavanah that everybody should recognize and see Elikus, not just chosen people, but it should become a recognized, fixed value in the world that you can see, and Elikus is Begalui. That's why the Yevishah took in out of Mitzrayim. That was one of the main functions, but the whole purpose of that and the whole kavanah was that should be Davki Nimshach Alidei Avedas B'nai Yisrael. In other words, they didn't get just a free gift. They were taken out of Mitzrayim and over for Gilui Elikus, but afterwards it's Tolui in B'nai Yisrael and their Aveda. But their Aveda, because they gained such a Nesina square going out of Egypt, of gaining such a Koyach Eloki, L'maylam Yateva altogether, that gives them the power to reveal it also in the world in a more fixed way. Big day legalis Elikus Bo'ilom Bo'ivin Shal Kviyas Drushim Shnei Inyonim. So the Rebbe says, in order to be Megala Elikus in a fixed way in the world that everybody will be aware of Elikus, then he said you need, and particularly that should be a permanent factor in the creation, then you need two inyonim. The first one is you need a koyach eloki naila yesa me'elokus shavabriya. You need a very high level of divine revelation, and more elevated than the level of Elikus that we have in the creation. Because the level of Elikus that we have in the creation, we don't necessarily recognize that as Elikus. Even though if we think about it and we're where we come to the conclusion that it must have been created and there must be Elikus in the world. But for it to be in Revelation, that you need something higher than the creation, because the way the creation was made is not necessarily begotten, which means that you have to have, in order to reveal Elikus in a permanent way in the world, you're going to have a higher level than the Bria itself, something beyond the curve of the Bria. Yes, yeah, but koiri l'shaneis es ha'ilon la'asoisi kli l'elikus ba'ivim kavua v'nitri. In other words, it's going to have to be such a level that its power will be to alter the world and to make it a kli, a vessel for Gila Elikus, and that should be an everlasting fact, that there'll be Gila Elikus in the world, and it'll be noticeable and recognizable if you only pay attention. But that's a koyah miyuchad that you will need in order to bring that about. The Abishah has to reveal something higher than what he revealed at the creation. What's the next thing? He said, Le'idok Isa, on the other hand, koyah ze gufa, however, the Rebbe said that this new koyah, which is beyond the world, is beyond the creation, its purpose is to reveal things, that Elikus should be there, revealed in the creation, boiven nitri. However, in order for it to do that, it's got to have a certain relationship to the makeup of the world. Because if it's something completely and utterly beyond the world, it'll just cause the world to be bottled with material. And therefore we have to say that it's higher than the world, beyond, but it must be in some way measured to the needs of the world. And therefore it can come down and reveal itself, and Elikus will be a fixed, revealed factor in the makeup of the world. So those are the two inyanim. So now the Rebbe says that we see that there's another whole major factor in Yetzias Mitzrayim, and that is that it had to be Alidei Moshe Rabbeinu Davka. And that we find that when Moshe Rabbeinu was told by Hashem at the snare, he was told by Hashem that he has to take the Yidden out of Egypt. He tried to use the expression to avoid the issue. And he said to Hashem that he don't think he's the one, etc., etc. However, we notice that Hashem didn't listen to that. Hashem didn't say, yes, okay, you're right, I'll look for somebody else. But Hashem refused to be makabel, these things that he said. And that tends to indicate that Moshe Rabbeinu was the only one, and he was the one that was fitting to take the Yidden out of Mitzrayim. Only he had the power to make these two factors, that we said, to make them come down and be effective in the world, are precisely Moshe Rabbeinu. So therefore says the Rebbe, these two inyanim, they came to their perfection of revelation by Moshe Rabbeinu. Therefore the Rebbe deals at great length in Nasicha, and we see that Moshe Rabbeinu is the key figure. Even when he was accompanied by Aaron was only to make the communication with Pari easier, but the figure that was actually doing the actual bringing of the Yidden out was Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Rebbe says that is expressed in a capital of what at that time they were beginning to say then. They began saying it, Toshin Nun Aleph, at this time, they began saying capital Tzadi, in other words, 90. Nowadays we say, what do we say, Kuf Tesvav, tomorrow morning we'll be saying Kuf Tes Zayin already. Well, then it was Tzadi. So the Rebbe said that in capital Tzadi 90, it's written Tefillah L'Moshe Ish Elokim. This is a special tefillah, which there are a number of them. There's a whole series, which Tosfos brings there in the Gemara that these are all tefillos of Moshe Rabbeinu. However, the main one, the leading one, is Tefillah LaMoshe Ish Elokim. That's what's written at the beginning of chapter 90 in the Tehillim. Yeah, so the Rebbe said, we see that there's two phrases here, Moshe and Ish Elokim. So he says, he said, but Tefillas Moshe yeshna beis inyonim elu. Later we see that at the end of the parasha, at the end of the capital Tzadi, it's also written, Yevihi noyam Hashem alakeinu aleinu, or Masa yodeinu koina nehu. Well, that's a doubling up. That's like saying the same thing twice. And at the beginning, it's also a doubling. Tefillah Moshe ish Elokim, Moshe Ish Elokim. We all know Moshe was a very special person. What did he need to say Moshe and Ish Elokim? So it follows that this, and then the Rebbe goes through the different psukim in Kapitel Tzadi, and you see that like every posuk doubles itself up. It says something and then says the same thing in a doubled way, a slightly different way. So I asked the question, what is the function of these doublings? You know, why do we need to double up? So the Rebbe is going to explain that now as we go along. However, this last passage in Kapitel Tzadi says, "V'hi noyam Hashem alakeinu aleinu, o masi yodeinu koina neyu." We say that every Motzei Shabbos. We say after Shemona Esrei, we say that passage. So ask yourself the question, what's that about? So if you look in Pasha Pekudei, right near the end, it's written that when the Mishkan, they'd finished making all the parts for putting out the Mishkan, and it's written that they bought it, and Ishchati Levi they call him as they brought all the parts to Moshe Rabbeinu, and it's written that Moshe Rabbeinu gave them a special blessing. And what did he say? Oh, these words. It's written by Yi Noyam Hashem Elokeinu. Rashi brings it in Pasha Pekudei. So what did that prayer of Moshe Rabbeinu achieve? He said, Yi Noyam Hashem Elokeinu Aleichem v'masi adechem koina nehu, is that the Rashi brings it. Up until then, people were concerned that there was no Hashras Hashchina. Once Moshe Rabbeinu said those words, then there came down the Hashras Hashchina. From that we see that Moshe Rabbeinu, by saying those words, he brought about a revelation of Elokus into the Mishkan. So therefore it's got two parts to it. Vehi noyam Hashem aleinu, o masi yodeinu koina neyu. And mishum kach, onu meitzim b'Moshe Rabbeinu atzmei, es ha'inen ha'kviyas v'anitzchiyas. We find the same thing, that there are like two aspects of Moshe Rabbeinu which make him like able to bring the inyan of kviyas and nitzchiyas of Elokus into the world. Kamayim Marazal, Moshe lo made. Yeah, it's brought down in the Gemara, Masechta Seita, that Moshe Rabbeinu never really passed away. But that's a whole big arihas on its own, and I can't really get involved in all that now. But the Gemara says in Masechta Seita that Moshe lo made. So what does it imply if I say that Moshe Rabbeinu loy meis? Well, that means that everything in connection with Moshe Rabbeinu is adequate nitzchiyas. It's everlasting. That's number one. And therefore we find that Moshe Yedei, Moshe nitzchiyah. And therefore we find anything Moshe did, it remained nitzchiyah. And Derech Hagav, that's one of the reasons brought down in our sages, that Moshe wasn't allowed to go over into into Eretz Yisrael. Because had he gone over, then he would have built the Beis Hamikdash. Had Moshe Rabbeinu built the Beis Hamikdash, it would have been everlasting, and there wouldn't have been able to be the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash instead of the destruction of the Jewish people. Like the Gemara said that Hashem took out his anger on the stones of the Beis Hamikdash. Had he not been able to do that, therefore the Yidden were saved, even though they were sent with Goddess, but they were saved. So from that we see the works of the hands of Moshe Rabbeinu nitzchim. And over the Mishkan is different than the Beis Hamikdash. The Mishkan wasn't really destroyed in the normal way. It went out into Eretz Yisrael, and then we say it was like buried. Like it underwent a beetle, like a burial, but not a complete destruction. Yeah, like the Beis Hamikdash. So therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu has in himself these inyonim, that everything he brings down has got a permanence and a nitzchias about. Okay, so the shaila is that where do we learn that benegah to Moshe Rabbeinu? It's very interesting, just to discuss that for a second. I see there's not many people here, and the Farbrengen is probably going to be rather sparse, so we'll spend a bit of time on the Pnimis of the Sikha. It's written, Tefillah l'Moshe ish o Elokim. So the Gemara says in Masechta Sanhedrin, what's this expression, ish o Elokim? If he's Elokim, then he's not Ish. And if he's Ish, then he's not Elokim. What does it mean, Ish Elokim? So the Gemara says that Michet Yoy Ulamata Ish. Moshe Rabbeinu was from halfway and down, he was a man. From halfway and up, he was Elokim. He was completely divine. And therefore he had the power to be Mamshich and Mechaber, the inyan from Elokim with the world, how it was. He was, even on the one hand, half of him was a metz, over half of him was divinity. That's what's written in the Gemara. So the Rebbe says, however, the word Elokim, Ish or Elokim, the word Elokim represents a type of Elokus which has got to do with the world. Because it's written, Bereshis Bora Elokim, the whole world was created inside the limitations of the Shem Elokim. So Einach Hanami, he's Ish Elokim, and he kilo mechaber the Elokus with the world, but it's a level which anybody's got a shaykhs to the world. He said, therefore he's called Moshe also, Moshe Ish Elokim. So he said the word Moshe is brought down, Rashi brings it down in Parsha Shmois. Why is he called Moshe? Ki min hamayim, what was her name? Batya, Baspari called him Moshe, because she says, min hamayim mishi sihu. I've drawn him up out of I've drawn him down out of the water. So Chassidus explains, and the Alter Rebbe brings it to that's a very high madriga. That's mayim alienim, that they never had any kesher with the world, malachatchila, and even higher than that. That was a very, very high madriga indeed. And that's the union of Shem Havaya, not the Shem Elokim. So Moshe Rabbeinu, in his very name and his very essence, he represents a koyach even higher than Elokim. And therefore he's got three levels to him. He's Moshe and he's Ish Elokim. In other words, that his Ika Inyan is Elokus Lamayla Mea, Ilamus Lagam, Shem Havaya. But he's also got a certain relationship to the world, and he's even got a relation to Ish. He's able to bring it down into the level of the world per se. So what Moshe Rabbeinu does is through the Elokim, he brings down the Shem Havaya and unites it with the Elokim, and then with the Chetei or Lamata, that he's half of him is a man's Lamata in the world. Moshe Rabbeinu's inyan is to bring Elakus Lamayla Mea Teva Legamri, through the Teva into the world. So he said, therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu, he was made the man for the Geula. But Hashem saw that only he can bring the Geula, because only Moshe Rabbeinu has that power. And it's brought down in the Zohar Kodesh and in other places, it's brought down that Moshe Rabbeinu is the Goyal Rishon and he's the Goyal Acharon. He's going to be the one that will take us out of the Golas, Moshe Rabbeinu. He took us out of the Golas of Mitzrayim. He's going to take us out of the last Golas and bring us to the Gula Shleim. So the question is that Moshe Rabbeinu is not David HaMelech. David HaMelech is Moshiach. So the answer is that Moshiach will have in himself both levels. He will have both Moshe Rabbeinu and David HaMelech. And the Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, explains it at great length in the Sefer Torah Mitzvah Sefer. So we can't go into all that now. But Moshe Rabbeinu is a fusion. Wherever you find Moshe Rabbeinu, he fuses things together. Like we see here, the same Benegah to Moshiach. So ultimately, Moshe Rabbeinu is going to be the one to take us out of the Golas into the Gula, take him out now. Amamela, that is, how do you call it? That's Moshe Rabbeinu. That's why he got the job, only he got the job of taking us out of Mitzrayim, and whatever he does is to bring down Lamaila, Me'o'ilam Legamri, Gila Lakuz, in a permanent way, thank you, that'll be able to fit into the world permanently and be there everlastingly. And then we see that the whole Chumash is full of Moshe Rabbeinu, everything to do with Gila Lakuz comes through Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Rebbe says, that's going to get to that. So now he says, Ha'omali'il, Urak b'yachas lafikas inyone harushus shebo ilom. Avo b'dei, yeh lafoiches hatzad shekeneve, takten shein takten leman mi'imeno, lekli, legile alkuz, zeh lidei koyach ha'atzmas. And now, this is very typical, the Rebbe is never satisfied. And what do I mean? We just said that Moshe Rabbeinu is the Koyach of the Shem Havayah. So the Shem Havayah is a very high level, and that's pretty good going, and that comes down and links with Ish. Ish is how Moses shot to the world. So that brings Elikus down into the world, and that becomes a permanent Gilui, and Yidden reveal that to the world. But the Rebbe said, that's all talking about where the world doesn't get in the way and make a war against that. In other words, where the world is what you call divrei reshut, things of what you call permitted things that that you're allowed to use anyway, to live in the world in a permitted Yiddish way. That's called divrei reshut. Yeah, in other words, where the world doesn't make a war against Elikus. There, Moshe Rabbeinu brings down the Shem Havayah, and that turns everything into Elikus, and Yidden are a living example of that. However, says the Rebbe, unfortunately, after the Chedei Tzadas and all sorts of very unfortunate things happened, they grew up in the world clippers, but they even tried to interfere with Elikus. They become what you might call a tzad shekeneged, an opposing side. And for example, Amalek, it's written that Amalek, Davki wants to fight Elikus. And the Alter Rebbe tells us in Tanya that Amalek he's a koyach atmi and he's a koyach kloli, benegel Elikus, benegel koyach haklippers. So the Rebbe says, what are we going to do with them? This union of Ish, Ha'elakim with the Shem Havayah of Moshe is only going to get to the of those inyonim which are keneged. So Moshe Rabbeinu has another trick. Moshe Rabbeinu has a trick that because he can reach the Shem Havayah, then he can get even higher than that also. And he can get to Atzma Seitzah. And when you get to Atzma Seitzah, then there's no holds barred. Then you can take on even a mullah, you can take on all the koyches, and you have the ability to be mavatal them, and change them also to be kelim lelikus. So that's what he says now. Ha'omer li'il hu rak b'yachas lafichas inyonei harashut sheba'ilam. Inyonei harashut, permitted things, sheba'ilam. Avu b'ktei lahavik is a tzad shekeneged. How do you call those clippers, what they are mamish against elikus, a taktain she'ein taktain lamatim mimeno. A low level in the world, but there's nothing lower than that. She'ein taktain lamatim mimeno l'kli l'gila elikus, to change that also, to be a kli l'gila elikus, zeu alidei koira atzmaz. Not even the Shem Havaya, but mamish the atzmaz. Even that was in Moshe Rabbeinu. Oh, you guys sure all battle on him. I don't realize what the Rebbe says here. Moshe Rabbeinu was what you called in English as an old quip, the jack of all trades. Moshe Rabbeinu, he had all the jobs. He had to take care of all the tasks in the world. And you say Moshe Rabbeinu, he can link Elikus with the world. So it comes along, so that's not enough. What about the opposing clippers? What about Amalek and all these? So everybody looks at Moshe Rabbeinu and says, Moshe Rabbeinu's got the job. In other words, that since he can reach the Shem Havaya, he can reach even higher than that. He can get mamish to Atzmas. Yeah, but Gam Shia Oya b'Moshe Rabbeinu Kamarumuz B'Tfila LaMoshe. How do we know that? It's brought down in Medrashi Chazal that there are two types of davening, two types of tefillah. There's what we call a tefillah la'oshir and a tefillah la'oni. LaMoshe by David HaMelech it's written tefillah la'oni. Yeah, but by Moshe Rabbeinu it's written tefillah la'Moshe Isho Elokim. And the Medrash says that that's the prayer of a rich man. And the prayer of a rich man, he's got plenty. So what is he praying for? He's praying for even higher and even better than that. Well, since Moshe Rabbeinu, he's able to reach Mamish Atzmas, that's why his tefillah is called tefillah Oshia, because he's going for the highest possible stakes that there are. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu can go anywhere. But Zui Asiba, Moshe Rabbeinu, who's there? Shahoya Goyelam Shal B'nai Yisrael Mikolas Mitrayim, V'Goyel Rishon Hu Goyel Acharayim. Mishum Shadavki B'Koyche Lahamshi Geula. What is Geula? Giloi Habli Gvo. Bli Shumak Bola, that doesn't allow anything to hold Yidden or Elikus back. Giloi Habli Gvo. Elikus Bo'elam Ad Gam B'Tzad Shekeneged, even to those opposing clippers, he also has mamshik. Avamera, that's why Moshe Rabbeinu is the Goyel Achrein, because he's going to have to get us out of this last scholars. And this last scholars is really terrible business. That's been slipping, and there's Amaleks, and who knows, all the Tzores, and all the Minyanim, that have been by the Klal Yisrael, Azifel Tzores, and Azifel. And Moshe Rabbeinu is going to take us out. Why? Because that's the Koyach HaAtzma. Not just the Shem Havaya, but Mamish the Koyach HaAtzma. Oh, Avamela, Moshe Rabbeinu, he's the one. He's the one that has this ability to be mamshik all these inyonim and bring about the Geula, and therefore he's going to do that by the Geula HaAchrein, take him out, Mami. So I think, even though you guys are a little bit fashloven, I think you could all sort of pick up the vibe. What's going on here? Yes, this seeker was said maybe a day before Yud Alef Nissan or a day after. No. So what is Yud Alef Nissan? What is Yud Alef Nissan? The birthday of Moshe Rabbeinu. So Moshe Rabbeinu, he's the balabas of Kol HaIshtalshus, and L'mayla Min HaIshtalshus. He's even Kaviyachol, you're able to bring down Atma Saints of it. And that's the end of an emissary born. That's the emissary. Therefore, the Rebbe took on all the jobs. So there was nothing that the Rebbe didn't take on. You follow? Pay careful attention, and you'll see the Rebbe, and he still does it. The Rebbe is still taking on. You name it, we got it. Yeah? And not only we got it, but we're prepared to take it on. Who do you think broke the whole Soviet Union with the ganze Meise? Who do you think it did? It was the Rebbe, the Kirche of the Rebbe. All the good things and big things that have happened, it's all the Rebbe's Kirche. And Mamela, the Rebbe's going to beat up. He's going to knock him. And bring the Gula Amidis Vashlema, because he's the Goyal Acharim. Those are the Goyal. The Kirche van Atmas, you name it, we do it. Not just we got it, but we do it. And Mamela, this is pretty amazing stuff. If you only misbeinan, it's just, it's mind-boggling. This was either 2 days before Yudal of Nissan or a day after. Yeah, ha'omaliyel, she'agi'ula in Yonah Hashua Selakus Ba'ilom, Bequeers Vanitchias. So the Rebbe says there's marumas in the word 490. We're talking about the capital of 90, that's what they were saying. And the word 490 is Tzadik Daled Yud. That's the way we write the Tzadi in full. Yeah, Tzadik Daled Yud. So the Rebbe says, the most amazing thing which we're going to read now. So he says, B'mispa Tishim, yeah, Mishum Sha'ashleima Samaliyah, B'chazoka Mitbateis, yeah, B'mispa Tishim. So what is Chazoka? We've already had it several times. Chazoka means you get a assumed fixed situation. They can just assume that that's the way it's going to be from now on. It's called Chazoka. So what do you normally, how do you get to Chazoka? That you can just assume that this belongs to Pliny, or it's going to, that nobody's complained or whatever. How many times makes Chazoka? 3. Very nice. 3 times it becomes Chazoka. If somebody complained but he proved he was right or whatever, and happened 3 times, then it's it. And so it is with many inyanim. Gimel piyomim havicha chazaka. So in Cain, the Rebbe says that Tishim 90 is the perfection of chazaka.
That's 30 times.
No.
30 times.
How many times is 3 times 10?
30.
3 times 10, how many is it?
30.
No, come on.
30.
30, right? So 10 is the Mizpah HaSholem, right? That's the perfect Mizpah. So 3 times 10 is 30. So how do you get Chazokah of 30? If 30 repeats itself 3 times, and what is 30 3 times?
90.
Tishim, and 90. It's a sign that 90 is the perfection of Chazokah. That's the highest way that you can get Chazokah. You follow? So the word Tishim, that indicates the perfection of Chazokah. Mishum shashleimus hamaliyah b'chazokah mitbateh b'mispat Tishim. B'chazokah in yonesh adova nikva u'mishchazik v'kach yishayer levad. Chazokah means that that's the way the thing is. It remains that way permanently. So that's one thing. So the Rebbe said, "B'mila tzadi." If you write the word 90 in letters, then you get the word tzadi. Shekak b'derech klal kois tzadi b'miloi. If you want to write it out fully, then you write it tzadi daled yud tzadi. So the Rebbe says, "Shepirush." Pirushoi Chad Shali. Tzadis. So the Rebbe says a politic idea. He said, Tzadi means my tzad, the tzad shali. So the Rebbe said, what does that indicate to us? Al-Moira al-Alef tzad kedusha. We could assume that the word shali is referring to the Eibishter. So the Eibishter says, my tzad is kedusha. Yeah, shirak. Yeah, tzad zeh u tzad shel Yehudi. So the Rebbe said, since that's the tzad of the Eibishter, then that's what a Yid wants also. And therefore when a Yid says tzadi, he means that that's the tzad of the Eibishter, and that's his tzad. In other words, he's taking a line, and what line is he taking? He's taking the line of Elikut, Kedusha. Yeah, Al-Derech, yeah, Bechinas Moshe. Just like we said, that Moshe Rabbeinu indicates the infinite Vegas in Elikut, Minamayim Mishisu. So he said in the same way, a Yid says that I belong only on one line. I'm, how do you call it, a one-sider. My tzad is the Eibishter's tzad, tzadi. Beit, says the Rebbe Le'ido Gisa, Ariseh rak tzad shali, v'loi matzuti. Yeah? So the Rebbe said, Mitzvah Sheni, if you say this is my tzad, then that means you personally. And maybe you're not, as it were, relating to the whole Metzius of the world. You're being, how do you call it, isolated and super individualistic. You follow? You say tzad shali. So therefore, said the Rebbe, you're not playing fair with Metzius. In other words, you heard the old expression in the Polish Yiddish of a tzaddik in pelts. A tzaddik is, that he hides himself inside a pelt. Is a big fur coat, in the old Polish Yiddish. A pelt is a fur coat. So they say a tzaddik in pelt, he's dressed up in a fur coat, but not more than that. That's the whole tzidkis. It's like inside a fur coat. So Rebbe says the Rebbe, it could be that he gets involved, and he goes, and he involves himself only in the Eden from Kedusha, only in the tzad of Kedusha, but he, as it were, hides from the Metzius of the world. He becomes like a tzaddik in pelt. Or had he said, he's like someone that sits in the base of Medrash, and he doesn't want to move, or have anything to do with the world. He's got his... So the Rebbe, that's a little bit l'cher lo metziuti mishum shaychusei shal Yehuda latzad kedusha ibo even shaychusei eina machrikosei sheyisnai kach. In other words, that if you choose to be and say that everything is my side, so to a certain extent you're, as it were, hiding behind a certain. And the Rebbe said everything has got to be LP, how do you call it, Bechira. The emes Vedas Hashem is based on the union of Bechira. It's not enough to say that because Hashem made the Kedusha and that's my tzad, that's my side, and therefore I'll remain in my side. You've got to do it LP Bechira. You've got to face the world, and you've got to know what it could be not to be on the tzad of Hashem, and you've got to make a different decision to be on Hashem's side. Once you do that, then your decision is a more developed and how do you call it, mature, to use the expression in English, because then you will know what is the other side and what is this side, and you will relate to the other side in a way that you will be using your Bechira to, as it were, take over the other side and make that also the tzad of Hashem. So therefore he says, Mishum shachus shel Yehudi l'tzad HaKedusha, ibo even sheshayich hazu, eina machricha say she is kach. It doesn't necessarily oblige himself that he has to do that. But in other words, he's got to make it his own choice. והנגוסי בדרך התורה והמצוות היא על ידי בחירוסי. The real Indian Alpitera mitzvahs of saying tzad shali is the tzad of the Eibishter is only when you had two possibilities, you didn't just hide behind one possibility. ומשום כך ויכולתי להפריך את עניין הרשוש באילום לעשייסם כאלה לגילה לכיס בפנימיות ובקביעות. What we said, that was the Indian of Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's the Indian of Ish Elokim. He brings Elokus into the tzad shel taktim, which is the tzad ha'ish. Avamer said the Rebbe, when you undertake to make kedusha your tzad through your bechira, and you choose to do it, and you go out facing the other possibility and choosing to be the way, you don't use it as a way to, as it were, hide away from the challenges of the world, or then to a certain extent it's lacking your bechira. And therefore, says once you do that, you gain a control like Moshe Rabbeinu. You become somewhat similar to Moshe Rabbeinu, what he's Ish and Elokim together. He's Chetzer Lamayla is Elokim, and Chetzer Latakta is Shar to the world. So therefore, you get the ability to change all the inyonim of Rishus, everything which is permitted every day, and things that we do, which are not also Alpitera, things of the world, you have the ability to make them Kelim, Lekila Lakus, and like it was, but it is Mitzrayim, that became Kabiyas and Pnimiyat. Ubira tzad shebegedusha, says the Rebbe, there's a bira, ubira hatzad shekeneged. So we said that there's a bira that Moshe Rabbeinu, alidei koach ha'atzma, is even higher than the Shem Habayit. He's able to be mavara, even klippos amolik, and those things which are mamish menagid to kedusha. So therefore, says the Rebbe, it's brought down in certain Sforim. And the Pardes also talks about it in a place that sometimes we write the word, the full word for the ois tzadi, we write it with a kuf at the end, and that's the word tzadi. And therefore, in some Sforim, you will find that they lechatchila, they refer to the ot tzadi as tzadik. Not tzadi, but tzadik with a kuf. So the Rebbe quotes from the Basi Lagani, has brought down that there's a chisaron in the os kuf, that it, albeit is above the line where the sefer is writing, but it's got a leg that goes down to the bottom, and that can indicate a fall into the world of inyonim bilti kokaktovim, bilti rutzuyim. But that says the Rebbe is only if you take the ois kuf mitzad atzmi. But he said if the ois kuf is part of the word tzadi, and it becomes tzadik, then it's linked, and its a head part of it is in kedusha. On the contrary, then it's a mila. It has the ability to go down into the lower places and in the lower aspect, and it's got the ability to change even the tzad keneged. However, is that the mizmor tzadi is sometimes called tzadi. And that indicates the koyah that Moshe Rabbeinu gives into Yidden, that not only they turn Ish into Elokim, but they have the ability to even be mavatal, the tzad keneged, even those things which appear to oppose Elokim. Where does one get all that from? One gets that from the koyach of Moshe Rabbeinu. And therefore, says the Rebbe, that's nirmaz in the union of the word, writing the ois tzadi fully with a kuf on it, tzadi. Shegam kach koisfim lefomim as ois tzadi b'milui. That's put down. As we said in the Holy Sforim, and some of them write the Chatchila that way. And that's indicatory that not only the chazokah and the ability to be mahafat the inyonei of Rishus into Kedusha through the Koyach HaMoshe Rabbeinu is not only in the Divrei Rishus, but also in the Yeah, come on, guys, hold on. It's hard work when we have to talk to people who are Slovak. Yeah, so he said, Gam Kaisir Laformim, as I study Bamilui, I read as Lamata Mina Shura. What over there in the Bossi Lagani, that's written not as a Maila. Over here it's a Maila. Yeah, the Loika, I say, Shabon Nivro Elamazeh Al Maloyai. The way the world was created permanently, and the Gemara says in Masechta Menachos that Bekei Nivro Elamazeh. So, you know, what's the sign of a tzaddik? K is, how do you call it, got the same type of head as a kuf, but it's got a smaller foot, and it's all within the Indian of Kittur, it's all above the line. And that's how the world was created. So the Rebbe said, yeah, ain't a Hanami, but that was the world, that was Al Milui, that was a good world and a perfect world. But if there's been problems from Tzad Shekeneged, then you need the Tzadi. You understand? The Tzadi has the ability to go down under the line and be Mavara, even Mahapir, even the things under the line. And that's why the capital of the Rebbe, that is Tzadi, and therefore Tzadi also is great. Tzadi is Tzad Shali. Yeah, I've gone to the Tzad HaKidusha over Bechira, and therefore it's mine. So he said, Tzaddik with a kuf indicates the ability to take on even the Tzad Shekeneged. So the Rebbe says, Zehu gam habio lakach shedavki haneis talamaki mitzrayim bibcheireihem nikra neis kodel. V'yascholas hanisim nisei hagilas written in the altar. Yeah, mishum shegam zeh nifo alidei gilei aki naila be'elokuz. Oh, so now we come back to the question, why do we call the Nes that happened on Shabbos HaGodel, why do we call it Nes Godel? And that's why Shabbos HaGodel is called Shabbos HaGodel. Ladas Alter Rebbe and Ladas Rov Acharinim. It's just they bring another medrash, not what the Alter Rebbe is about the Bechira. Aber auch upon him, why is it called a Nes Godel? I mean, everything that happened in Mitzrayim was Nesim. Any Nes is a Dover Godel. So what do you mean a Nes Gadol? So the Rebbe says, not only was the Nes Gadol, nor the Alter Rebbe adds, if you look in his Shulchan Aruch, and he said it was the beginning of the Nisim of the Geula. And all the Asamachas and all the things that have been up to now, they were the beginning of the Geula. They were all Nisim, and why does he say that this Nes is the beginning of the Nisay Geula? Mishum Shanes Nifal Alidei Agila Aki Naila Be'elokuz. Yeah, just like we saw that Moshe Rabbeinu had to go to Atzmas in order to be Mevatel, the clipper. Yeah, Haki Kosher. So the same way, this is a Koy Hagile Naila Be'elokusha Bekoy La Hagia Afilu Be'bechoirei Mitzrayim. Afilu in the Bechoireis, the Mitzrayim, what is sworn on, the Bechoir indicates the choice. And first Koyach, but that's the Teikev, Shall Taktin, Shayin Taktin Lamanamimetu. That's like the Indian of a molecule, those Koyachas with their mamish managet letters. So in order to be Mavatal that, you have to draw on a tremendously high level. So the Alter Rebbe says that Shabbos HaGodel is connected with the Bechoireis. Yeah, because they heard from the Yidden that there's going to be a Nes that they're all going to pass away. So they went to Pari and they said, listen man, send them out. And Pari refused. So the Bechoros made war with Pari, and there was a whole big, the Mitzrayim killed off one another, yeah, in this big war. So the Alter Rebbe said that's the reason we call it a Nes Gadol. So there are two aspects here. First of all, says the Rebbe, to get down to Bechoirei Mitzrayim, you have to have a tremendously high level, which is Mamish Atzmas, more than Stam Nisim, I mean, Nisim that are from a lower level. And then there's another unit to it, and that is that the Bechoiris themselves, they themselves fought Pari, which means they themselves did the Yidden HaToyeva. They made it possible to get the Yidden out of Mitzrayim. And remember, we see that the Etzem Toikev and the Mitzrayim themselves, they were Nisapik, Beisavcha. And they drove the Yidden out. They wanted to get rid of the Yidden. And we see from that it's a koyach atzmas mamish, yeah, and that's why it's called a nes gadol. And so the Rebbe said, as another question, why do we make it always on Shabbos? Because when that occurred at the time it says Mitzrayim, it happened on Yud Sheba Nisan. So make every Yud Sheba Nisan, make you remember. No, we make every Shabbos before Pesach, we remember this net, which means that we fixed it Davka on Shabbos. So the truth is that in Shulchan Aruch, the altar brings a tam, al pinigla. Why do we do that? Oh, the question is, al pinimius, why would it come out that we remember this great nest only on Shabbos? Why don't we connect it with any day that happens to come out Yud Shabbat? So therefore the Rebbe says, lo chach, yeah, nes shayach l'Shabbos davke, Shabbos agodel. Not just nes godel, but a nes godel shehofek at a Shabbos l'godel. Mishum she'akesher, yeah, v'ashayches ha'miyucheres bein Shabbos l'geula. Oh, since this is the koyach of geula, the whole inner of the first nes of the geula, the nisim, which begin the nisya geula, to take the yidden out mamish and to be mevatel the koyach of the b'choyri mitzrayim. So he said Shabbos is also like that. The Ike kedusha Shabbos is also shayt to the geula. Sharei Alef Shabbos he me'ein yoyim, yes, shekulei Shabbos u'manucha l'chayoi. Like we say, the Manucha of Shabbos, like there's a famous Zmira that they sing on Shabbos. In Lubavitch, they didn't necessarily sing that. Me'ein oilam habo yom Shabbos Manucha. The whole meaning of Shabbos is like oilam habo. Me'ein means it's mamish partaking of it. Yeah, another reason is that Shabbos niklalim beis inyanim. There on Shabbos two inyanim come together. One, manucha be'erach le'yigiyah, that you've been working hard and then you rest on Shabbos, but that means a manucha that's still connected somewhat with the struggle and the work that you had before. It's a certain connection. Ba'is, however, manucha be'eter, another madriga of manucha which is not shy to the world. It's a higher form of manucha, a spiritual union where you go up into Gilei Lakus. And the Rebbe brings over there a very interesting arichas that's brought down in some of the great Rishonim, that the Rabbeinu Yoina, he brings it down, that the Ike Inyan of Shabbos is the Tefillah of Shabbos. So the Rebbe said Tefillah is the Inyan from Aliyah, Achrei Aliyah, and that's the Ike Inyan of Shabbos. Therefore, that's another type of manucha. That's a manucha for becoming higher and detached from the world. Not just resting from what the world made you tired, but you go up on another level altogether. Yeah. So he said, Shahim al-Dera Beisi Inyonim Anal B'Sifalo. They, like we saw, that there's an inyan from Koyah to make Gilei Lakus in the world. And secondly, first of all, that needs to come to a very high level, and secondly, it becomes a permanent and open thing in the Olam Mitzadatzma. Shinyona v'tachlisa kanal nifel Gilei Lakus b'kviyas ad gamba tzad sheker keneged. That's in of Shabbos. Avamer, therefore, the nes of Shabbos and Godel is got a shayas davka with Shabbos. Yeah, so now the Rebbe gets to the Maisa, and he says, Maisa hu ha'ika. One, he said, Yudi tzorik lisales b'avidosei bo'ifet denisi nisim. You have to get higher in Nissan, and B'frat on Yudal of Nissan, you have to go up into a madrig of Nisi Nisim. Ad lenes, yeah, Godel. V'lo yitai b'salas koshui. You've got to get better during Nissan, and B'frat on Yudal of Nissan. You've got to get better in a way that you don't just do a little bit, but you do it in the form of a nes. In other words, you yourself become like a nes, you elevate yourself. Well, the Galis is a tzaddik, shaboy. Yeah, you have to form this kesher with the ability to come down and be mavayir and mavatal even the tzad shekeneged, but that's what the inyan for tzaddik, but akul. Inyan for tzaddik with akul, and that's the inyan of the Rebbe points out in Lasicha, that's the inyan of Moshe Rabbeinu, shebekol echad Echad Kamavua Betanya and Perik Membeit. Ulehismase Ko Kuli Latada Torah Boivin Shanasa Tzadi. Yeah, what we saw that was him for Chazoka, Shlishim Parmi Shalosh. Yeah, Tzadi Lagamri, Hain Benagir Atmei, Vahin Benagir Hashpua Ala Zulas, Vahin Benagir Hashpua Al Umaso Ilam Afila. Yeah, Boivin the Tzadik, yeah, Boitzua. Slicha b'chutza, she'ein chutza himeno, even the Umasa Oilon, yeah, to bring to them also the mitzvahs b'nei Noah. And then says the Rebbe, Latzape tzache achag, l'kol hanitrochim, everybody in need. So the Rebbe says it's not enough just to say, oh yeah, the ones I usually give to, I'll give, but you have to find new ones, and you have to add, yeah, in the tzachah that you gave the last time. So he said, Ein tzachah asayda v'ain tzachah yonta peklau, begodim, yeah, macheli yonta clothes, and all the food that's necessary and everything you have to provide for, other people. Yeah, so then he said, the Rebbe said, another thing is that where they make storim, tziburim, that it's very important that they should make both nights. It appears that it was like known by the Shluchim Harbi in America, they make one Seder, just the first night. They didn't make anything out of the second night. So the Rebbe says that it's very important that they should make two stories. People will say that they don't have enough money. They've only got for one Seder. So the Rebbe said, if you will decide that you're going to make two stories, Hashem will give you the money. They say that in the Sikha, Yevesh Leila Zechar, Gam b'mochim shalachel choset taksiv l'chach. It doesn't look as if you got the money, or even sheyichalku eso itzoish l'shnei alaylas, that there'll be enough. Hashem will give in a miraculous way that there'll be enough for both of the nights together.
Oh.
Okay, so you wanted it, so you got it. That's
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's much unbelievable. So what do we see here as one of the main pitch lines of the whole Inyan is that you have to have Moshe Rabbeinu. And Hashem wasn't mukhan to start the whole Geula without Moshe Rabbeinu. And even when Moshe Rabbeinu tried to dodge it, Hashem wasn't mekavu, and nonetheless he forced him to go. Therefore, because Moshe Rabbeinu is the koyach of all these inyanim. And that's what he hints at. Later he says that there's the inyan of tzaddik, not to study, but tzaddik. And so the Rebbe says that that's the tzaddik, shebekol echad, and he says that's right to the inyan of Moshe Rabbeinu, bekol echad, which means that we all have the Rebbe, the Rebbe is with us, and he's all part of us, and we got the Nasinas Koyach from the Rebbe, each and every one of us. Yeah, you can't time that, you know, who am I? I'm just a battler. So the answer is, you're a battler. But if you only decide and you only want, then you're able to do it. And that's the Koyach of the Rebbe. And we see he's Goyal Rishon v'Goyal Achrein, or that Koyach, and that ability to go beyond and to rise beyond all the Hakbolas of the Golas. Well, that's the koyach of Moshe, who goyal Rishon, who goyal Achamim. That's the koyach of Mashiach. And Be'ez Hashem, let's be open and let's talk Galui. It's pretty clear from the run of the whole Sikha Yeah, who are we really talking about? There's a story about the Alter Rebbe when he came back from Masoret, and he had only a small minyan at that time of people who were really his Talmidim. So he made a Farbrengen. He came back from Pesach, by the way, the first time from Masoret. And the Alter Rebbe made a Farbrengen, and he said that Moshiach, his mamish at our doorstep, and he also was ma'ira tremendously about Moshiach, the Alter Rebbe. And then he made an expression in Yiddish. He said, the only thing which remains to settle is where, who is who. Yes? An expression in English, who is who. So in Yiddish, that's the same expression. Who is who is where is where. In other words, who is it? Who is Moshiach? And the Alter Rebbe said openly, he said, those who want to find the answer, they have to go to Masoret. That's what the Alter Rebbe said openly. So, I mean, what do we need to be scared about? What do we have to be afraid of? If the Alter Rebbe said clearly, who it is, he said, the only shaila is where, and said, what have we got to be afraid of? Yeah, it's clear, it's obvious. That's a koyach of Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's a koyach that Moshe Rabbeinu has placed in each and every one of us, and each and every one of us can see in his life what Moshe Rabbeinu is poil in his life, and what it means to him. All you have to do is just be determined about certain basic issues. Dahainu, that you're going to make decisions, and you're going to try and keep them. And it's not in big things, it's not in massive inyanim. No, just in small things like living with the Gula and spreading the Gula and trying to be a bit more not in Hagbara than you were yesterday. Had it occurred. Reisman made Tzorimu, who Gavudim, and you can achieve amazing things. And you can form a connection with others, and you can bring them also to a whole new frame in their life. So, Amel Chaim.
You haven't been here long enough.
Yes? One second. You right here?
I think I moved this off center. The picture's okay.
Excellent.
I moved them.
Short and to the point.
Oh, really?
Less than 2 weeks.
Is it simple?
Yeah. He's doing pretty good. Not easy, but
He's a strong guy.
Are you sure it's wide?
whiskey.
Funny wine splits.
So I
We need to get on
Judal of Nissan is so massive and so huge that it's hard to know what to say. It's hard to find anything that's fittable into Kalim, B'fet Lefi Oil, what we just learned in the Sikha there. So I want to sort of introduce us to a certain idea which is based on the teachings of Chassidus Benegir to Matzah, since that's what's on the Perek at the moment. In Likutei Torah and Pasha Vayikra, in the famous long Maimah of the Alter Rebbe, Lo Yisashbis Melech, what's well known as the long Maimah, but learning Pnimis HaTorah, very, very long, and how the Alter Rebbe develops a very detailed case that Melech has in from Teres Kabbalah, Well, when he says Teres HaKabbalah, he means Teres HaChassidus, Kamuran, the senior from Pnimis HaTorah, and it's like Melech brings taste into everything, so Pnimis HaTorah brings taste into all of our Aveda. And similarly, we see that Melech has the ability to separate things and show separation one from the other, even to the point of drawing out the peselas and leaving behind the good. If you want to draw the blood out of meat, then that's done precisely through salt. Salt has the ability to draw out the peselas and leave and reveal the tachlis hatei. He brings out the famous story of Elisha Hanavi, that he was matayah the Maim Roim, early day salt. Arichas Advar. So then the Alter Rebbe asked a very interesting question that it's interesting that we find in the Kutei Torah sometimes reference to very, very delicate connections between Nigla and Pnimis HaTorah. So the Alter Rebbe he asked a question over there that we find that there's not just a minhag Yisrael. It's okay, don't bother with it. There's a minhag Yisrael that is brought down in Shulchan Aruch, and it has to do with certain halachas, but the Alter Rebbe brings it be'ikah in the dinim of Maim Shalom, what you can mix with the flour, and he brings out that you can't mix salt, you don't, and it's not a yisa mamish minatera, not even a gzera derabbanan, but it's a mini kol Israel that they don't put salt in the matzahs. So one of the reasons being is that salt is ever so slightly machamim. It has a tray about it that it warms things that it comes into contact with. That's one of the Tanaim the Alter Rebbe brings it. Without going into the whole arena. So over there in the Kutei Torah, the Alter Rebbe asked, why shouldn't we put salt in the matzahs? The matzahs, therein is bittul to Ratzon Hashem, adequate heipach ha'isnasis v'yeshes, bittul gomer, bittul amiti, and salt is even from Pnimis HaTorah. So they go together well. You should be able to put salt in the matzahs, and on the contrary, the matzahs being ever so bittul, they should grow well together with salt. Why should it be forbidden, or not forbidden, but it's forbidden, but I mean, why not to put salt in matzah? So the Alter Rebbe says over there an amazing thing, and he says that not only is salt a power of bira, but it's also the emissary pnimius v'atzmius of the Torah. It's the Teres HaKabbalah, and therefore it has the ability to, like we said, to cast tam, amiti, into all the Aveda of the order. He says, however, that's connected with a certain inyan of hasoga v'limud. You can't know about Pnimis HaTorah unless you learn. And you have to have a certain inyan of hasoga, and to be niknas was there, and then there occurs what he explains earlier, the yuchad of the mind with the thing that it understands, and then you become a yuchad, or bottle in from Pnimis HaTorah. However, he said matzah is an inyan od lifnei. He said matzah is the inyan from bittul od lifnei melech, od lifnei the inyan from Pnimis HaTorah, and he said in order to approach Baklal, bringing Pnimis HaTorah into your life, You have to have Emunah Pshuta, who bittul, beli tam v'das klau, fila beli asoger, ve'amidias inyan ater. In other words, that matzah is like a beginning even before salt. And then he says a very interesting thing, the Alter Rebbe. What he writes in this week's parsha, that after Chatzot Laila, then according to some great Meforshim, what he brings down in this week's parsha, Parsha Tzav, that there's a whole new madrega in matzahs, and that's what we call matzah she'achar chatzos. But they were Adshin Nikla Aleim, Melech Malchei Amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they B'der Mamela didn't become common Mitzad the Gilei and the Kuz. Well, that's a very high. He said over there, salt is not a problem. It's a very interesting thing. He said there you could put salt on those matzahs shel achar chatzos. He said there salt wouldn't be a problem. But he said the matzahs before chatzos, the matzahs B'der HaPoshut, yeah, he said they can't have, because they're like an emunah pshuta and a bittul od lifnei asog, od lifnei kol gadlus, kol giluim. Avamela, I say this also with a Rebbe. You have to realize that's brought down from the Rebbe Rashab that when you hear from a Rebbe, Azar, there are two ways that you can hear it. On the one hand, you hear it completely, and you are a kli, how do you call it, sholem, empty kli, only to hear what the Rebbe says. And then afterwards, once you've heard it all, it's all gone in, then you begin to use your own mind to examine it. But if, b'shas, when you hear from the Rebbe, you start mixing your own, and you want to understand, when you're being makabel, the Indian, and that's called lo shimshu kol tzorchon. That's not called shima sharav amidi. And the Gemara says in Sanhedrin that the whole Indian of Machlekes by Israel came mitzad the Talmidi Shama v'hil lo shimshu kol tzorchon. So the Rebbe Rashab said the pshat in that is that they mixed their own seichel b'shas the etzem hashpah. You mustn't do that. You're only a kli, a Kabbalah, and then later, once it's already sunk into your being, then you can start examining it, mitzad your seichel. Because once it's sunken into your being, it has an effect on it. And then your seichel, when you come to examine it, you're going to work the right way. So I say this with a Rebbe. It's forbidden for us, to sort of start mixing our own ideas. This seems to be good, or this seems to be a little bit over, a little bit much. Chas v'sholem. First off, you have to be makabel, just like a kli patuach and a kli adikot, reikon, b'loshen ha'gemara, just to be makabel. And you just hear. And then later, it's a possibility to mix your own seichel, try to understand, and it's even a mitzvah. Later on, there's a need to know in your own seichel what you heard, but not at the beginning. Lo b'tchila. The same with the Rebbe. Everything the Rebbe said to us, we have to be makabel od lifnei melech, or before salt. We have to be makabel like the simple matzah, which is hiskafia, the bittul, v'hidua, how they call pshuta, and after you've been makabel the whole thing, and it's sunk into your being, then you can start relating to it. That's the Indian of the emissary Indian of matzah is od lifnei melech. It's od lifnei pnimis. So you might ask the question, what do I earn by just hearing everything and just letting it into my being? And then later I start, what does it matter if I start mixing my seichel at the beginning? What is the difference? If I mix my seichel, I mean good, I'm trying to understand. So if I mix my own seichel when I'm hearing, ma lo tov. So the answer is like this. It's mashma b'kol ha'makaymes, and sort of that there are two inyonim in what a Rav gives over. A Rebbe, I haven't said it. There are two major inyonim. One is the message that he gave over, whatever it was, in whatever tchum, in whatever field, in whatever inyan, in whatever profundity, and that's the content of the message. But then, together with that, there's what we call a kavanah. The Rav, when he gave over, that he had in mind a certain purpose, a kavanah. Everybody's looking at me blankly. You understand what a kavanah means? It's like a purpose or an aim, behind the whole thing. Right? He means something with that. Not just the understanding, but there's like a whole purpose and a whole aim that he's aiming at. And that's the ikar of whatever the Rab said, is a kavanah. So we see the Muslim in the time of earlier Rabbeim, they had very, very amazingly profound kavanahs, and the Talmidim who were really tuned in, they were into it, and they tried to make the whole inyan of Lubavitch Lefi, the kavanah of that particular Rebbe. For example, take the Rebbe Rashav, the whole thing was the inyan from Tomchei Tmimim, and to build up Oivdi Hashem, the Pneumias that would go out into the world and fight the Haskalah and the inroads of what was eventually communism, and the Gansadus. And so there was this unbelievable koyach atzmi, v'pnimi, called Tomchei Tmimim, v'kol HaKosher. That was the kavanah of what the Rebbe taught. What he taught was inyonim, which are written in the Mamar, but there was a kavanah behind all of them. So when you, at the beginning, when you just absorb what the Rebbe says without mixing your own cycle, you know what happens? The Eibishter gives you a bracha that you already sense what is the kavanah. Because you didn't mix your own cycle, and you didn't try to, wait a minute, say, oh yeah, that I understand, that I accept that I have to examine further, that I have to this. But you would just makabel the whole thing. And it took over your being. So then, your being means your etem. Your etem senses what is the direction. Where are we heading with this? What is the Oh no. What is the aim? What is it? What are we looking at with it? And that's the amazing thing. If you just makabel from the beginning, believe your own seichel, and say, wait a minute, this, I need to understand more, and you just a clear like a matzah, without melech at the moment. We're talking about matzah without matzah, believe melech. Then you have a gift that Hashem, since you received, like as it were, a whole thing, you received a Dova Sholem inside your being, then that Dova Sholem teaches you what is the aim here, what is the ultimate purpose at Kavanah to tell you. So B'Dorenu said, in a general way, even though this divides itself into Sifim, Rabim, Ma'id, what is the main kavanah? What is the main aim? What is the main direction? Particularly in all the years, of the latter years of the Rebbe's Messiah's, believe, Pesach, Kolazman, what was the main aim? The main aim was the infant, like we just learned in the Sikha. Hiloi Elikus, Bakfiyas, Banitzchias, Amitiyas, Bagula Amitis Vashayim. And that is the ultimate kavanah, that is the aim, Pnim. But if you come along with your seichel, then you start saying, oh, wait a minute, yeah, I'm not sure, come on, take it easy, in there. But if you absorb the whole thing, then you see what is the kavanah. So it could be you're a bit of a schlepper and you don't actually carry out the kavanah with all the koiches that you should. But at least you know where you are. You know where you're heading. You know what is the emes of kivon. And as it were, you're together with the Rebbe in the general line where we're heading. You follow? And that's the gift of matzah kipshutei afilu b'li mara. Afilu without pnimis atera. There's an infant to be a makaber. I am a makaber. And that's the message of Yidal of Nissan. The message of Yidal of Nissan is leave it all behind. It's hard. It's not easy. Yeah, because particularly somebody that holds that he's a sikli, you know, he's a mensch with a good power of reasoning, and why shouldn't he use his reasoning? So the answer is, yeah, einochanami, use your reasoning, but only at a later stage. Yeah. First of all, you be a makabel. You just, you're makabel, everything, but tmimas. And that's the union of Tomchei Tmimah. These guys were tremendous people, the people that learned in Tomchei Tmimah, but they had the ability, to be Tmimah also. That's a very profound koyach. That means that you just hear whatever is the inyan, and then later there's an old saying in English, it's sorted out once you get home. Once you get home, then you work out the first way you get home. Once you get home, then you can start sorting it out. First way you have to get home. And that's the message that I want to give you guys over for Yudal of Nissan. And we've got to be, how do you call it, matzah dikamention. A matzah is a whole unbelievable life. So when you sit down to the Seder, it's not, oh yeah, here I am with the matzah, and yeah, but you got to be completely and utterly, you're eating emunah pshuta, me'emunuza, emunah pshuta, ve'ike in the message of the Rebbe, emunah pshuta, and then afterwards, on the second night, if you have a second night, it'll be Ma'ila Dema Asmusa. It'll be a healing. It'll heal. It'll heal you. It'll heal other people. It'll heal the world. It'll make the world a better place.
Amen.
You want it? And that's the whole message of Yiddish. Therefore, I find it absolutely mind-boggling that sikha that we learned, it's just so clear that if it says that you can't have Geula without Moshe Rabbeinu. You have to have Moshe Rabbeinu. And he points out all the reasons why. Because Moshe Rabbeinu is min hamayim mishi sihu. He's from a level experiencing in Yonim in a completely different level than what you experience. And Legamri, it's like, you know, how do you call it, mixing choil with kodesh, 100 times more than that. It just has no shaykhs or no kesher. And that's what he says in the Sikha, that min hamayim mishisiyo means the Shem Havaya, but then he says even l'mayla me'ashem, even the koach ha'atzmas, and that's the power of Moshe. So when you get somebody who's talking on that line, on that lead, it's not good to come along with your little cough and say, yeah, but I need to understand, and I'll take this, and I'll analyze this, and I'll be this is it. First of all, be makabel everything. Now, it could be that's very, very difficult for some people. It's hard. But that's the Aveda. Zehu Aveda. That's the Aveda when you're not of this. We just have to be simple, emunah dika, pshuta, and that's what they, by the Olam, clearly they call emunahs tzaddikim. Was it a type of emunahs tzaddikim? Not just you believe that the guy is a tzaddik, and not just you believe that he's got nice powers and he'll help you and he'll look after you, but you believe that he has, like we learned tzaddik, he's got the ability from Atzmas to elevate the whole world, even the opposite part of the world. And that's a koyach mamash for Atzmas. And that's a emunah tzaddik. Well, you need a emunah, you should just be makabel. And then you'll see what to do later on. And even if you don't, ultimately you don't really understand, that shouldn't be a maniya, that shouldn't stop the kavanah. And you know what the kavanah is, okay, that's the blessing that you get. By absorbing, you get to the kavanah. Amir Hashem should help us. The only question is ad matai. Ad matai. Ad matai. I want to tell you a little story. I don't want this to be taken in the wrong way. I want to be taken in the right way, because it indicates something that's happening in the world. I was up where I live the other day. I wanted very much to make a bracha on the trees, on the pears.
For bison, soul food.
Dry food.
I want to make a bracha on the tree. So up there's a lot of different trees, nice trees with flowers on them. But somebody told me that not all of them are, I'd say pears. You've got to be careful, you've got to know which one. So I had a bracha helping me a bit for the Pesach Dikyonim, and we went out on Sunday afternoon. We went out a bit further down, because I'd met a guy on Shabbos. He was wearing a kippah and everything, and I asked him, did he know where there was fruit trees? And so he showed me in his backyard. He had a lovely, I think, plum tree or something like that, blossoming beautifully, a lovely tree. And then he said, opposite those trees that you see, he said, I think they're also fruit trees. So I thought, we're in the game here, we got here, we got there. So I just decided that I would check it out. And I would go and knock on the door of this house that's got these nice trees, and I'd ask the guy, are they fruit trees? Do they produce fruit? So I knock on the door, and after a while the door opens. A guy comes to the door, and I said, excuse me, I'd just like to inquire, do these trees produce fruit? So he looked at me like I was, falling down from Mars or something. He couldn't figure what then he sort of thought for a minute, he said, yeah, okay. And he said, I'm Duvdanium, I forgot what word he said, but they're fruit trees. They produce fruit. I said, that's good. So, he sort of looked at me, what's it matter? So I said, once a year we make a blessing on the tree. So his whole face sort of changed, So I said, oh, that's nice, And he nodded, and he was so pleased that we were going to make this bracha on. He was a guy with the gone, he came to the door looking slightly sort of annoyed, So we walk out, and then who should I meet but this guy that I met on Shabbos with the kippah. And he said, oh, come over into my chatzir. Don't stand on the street. Make the blessing in my chatzir. That's what he says. So I said, oh, that's a nice idea. So we had both his beautiful plum tree or whatever it was, and we had these other two, we could see them as well. So we made a blessing on the whole lot. So we did. He stood slightly at the back and he was watching. This guy with a kippah. He was displeased. So we start walking, we sort of nodded to him and thanked him, and all of a sudden he says to me, but he looked at me earnestly, he didn't look at me with a grin or something. He said, Yechi Adinaynu Mareinu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach Le'Elam. That's what he said to me. This guy said. The kippah, he said, of a Ratzinut, he said it. I was worried when he began saying the word Yechi, that he was sort of, making fun of it. But he was serious, He said it very, very nicely with a kavanah. So I said to myself, what's going on around here? You know? I was mommy's dumper, and the bocher that was with me, he almost fell over backwards. You know? he was just amazed. He said, where did this guy get this from? You know? So something is happening in the world that there's like a how do you call it, a shvicha. There's like a pouring out. Something is pouring. And there's like an awareness that, you know, that something makes sense. And that there's a Moshe Rabbeinu, and that he's the Moshiach. It's like the Alter Rebbe said, Ber is Ber, who is who? Yeah? And some of these people sense it, you know? And so he was very pleased. And he didn't say that as a joke, you know? And as we left, he sort of put his arm around both of us. He was very happy. And the fact that we'd used his chatzer and everything, and the guy across the street, when he realized that, right, there's a blessing in him, his whole face changed. You know? So as we were walking back to my house, I said to this bocher, I said, you know, we just saw Gilei Lakuz. We just saw Gilei Lakuz. He says, what's up to Gilei Lakuz? So I said, I once heard from Reb Mendel. I tell a little story. In Kfar Chabad, after Reb Mendel became the Mashiach, I used to read Reb Mendel almost every day. So one day I meet up with Reb Mendel, and he says to me, in Yiddish, he said to me, what is the Taich Gilei Lakuz? That's what he asked me. What's the pshat? What does it mean, Gilei Lakuz? So I said, I started saying, you know, explaining Gilei Lakuz. So he said, I'll tell you. He said, he said, there's a guy in Beis Menachem. He said, Beis Menachem. He says, I'm often there on Friday night. He says, you go in there a bit before Mincha. He said, he comes in dressed up already, you know, he's all Shabbosdik, all dolled up. And he says, you look at his face, he said, that's not the same guy that a few hours before you might have met, knocking around at Kfar Chabad. He said, he said, it's another look on his face. He said, the Shabbos spoiled by him, he looks different. Unira legamri acher. The Shabbos brings him, he looks a different person. So Reb Mendel smiled at him and he said, das a Gilei. He said, Oiba Yid looks different. From 1 hour to the next.
Yehida?
Because it's Shabbos, he said, das a Gilei. In other words, where Elokus affects a person,
Yehida.
he's different.
Yehida.
He even looks different. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't hear.
Yehida, the high neshama.
Yeah.
Yehida.
It doesn't matter whether he's got a high neshama, low neshama. It doesn't matter. He looks different on Shabbos. So I said to Reb Mendel, I wanted to show that I also have something to say. I said, I'm a Furish Yerushalmi.
Or what?
That's why I said to Reb Mendel, I'm a Furish Yerushalmi. So Reb Mendel thought of it, he said, what's why Yerushalmi? You know, what Yerushalmi is it? So I said, it's written in the Yerushalmi that if on a Sheva Brachas that you make on Shabbos, you have to have a ponim chadoshes. Not on the Shabbos, any Sheva Brachas, you have to have a ponim chadoshes. Somebody that wasn't there at the Sheva Brachas under the chuppah. You follow? The Yerushalmi says that on Shabbos, you don't need. On Shabbos, even if you haven't got somebody who wasn't there at the chuppah, it's okay. So the Yerushalmi says for what? Because ein mo'er ponav shel adam doime b'Shabbos lemo'er ponav shel adam b'choyim. The shining of the face of a Yid on Shabbos is different than what it is in the weekday. I see all you guys are patronim. The Yerushalmi says you don't need a new person because he looks a new person anyway. Why does he look a new person? Because of Shabbat. That's what's in the Yerushalmi. So that's what I very proudly said to Rav Mendel. So Rav Mendel said, oh, that's good. In other words, that he said that when a person's face changes on Shabbat, that's a gilui elokus. So here I saw two people. I saw a person change as soon as I said I want to make a blessing on fruit trees. He changed. He was different. Maybe only for a few minutes, but he was different. And then we get over to the other guy's backyard, and as we're leaving, all of a sudden he looks at me very meaningfully, and he says, so I says to myself, what's going on here, man? That's just it. Das Gufe, das a gilui elokus. Das a gilui elokus. And that's happening. It's spreading. It's pouring out into the world. People are looking for Mashiach. They're looking for something higher and better, and they know that it's occurring, but they want to be part of it. They want to be part of it. And they feel a little bit, sort of inadequate. And so therefore they look to sort of chab. And they change. It's all the Rebbe, guys. It's all him. It's all him. Moshe Rabbeinu. That's it. It's all the Rebbe. Everything merges and all that. Just it's the care of the Rebbe. Kijk het. Chaim.
Seven.
Huh? Seven. Oh. What does he mean with seven?
Rebbe.
Shvi.
Rebbe.
Chaim. Those who were zeicher to be by the Rebbe and to see the Rebbe, to use the expression in action, as you saw gilui elokus mamish of a mamish. In Yonim, it was only child from what we saw that Moshe Rabbeinu was min hamayim. Mishisiyuh, he comes from Atzmas. He has the ability to come down. As I told you people about I've already told the story several times. I don't have to repeat it. When I got kosher bracha the first time from the Rebbe, and I took a kosh for somebody else, but I didn't say who it was for. The Rebbe asked me who was it for. And the Rebbe remarked about that person. Something was, that's Navua. Das ist nicht, das ist eine von, das ist eine schon Navua. Aber Mela, you could see during Farbrengen from Oslo that there was certain people that the Rebbe said to them, L'chaim, and you could see B'shas Moise that they mamish older, you know what I mean? They received a whole new level of chayas just from the fact that the Rebbe paid attention to them. Yeah? And the etzem inyan of min hamayim mishisihu, adat madrege from Lamayla mikola oilamas, comes down and it draws in. Every year makes him feel that he's part of the kavanah. You know, not just that he's there and he needs a bracha and he needs parnasa, but Ali Yidden daven open parnasa. And the Rebbe took that into account also. Because without parnasa, it's hard to even have a year of Shamayim Kamoisha Tzarik. But that was that open parnasa. That's ein malakit. But the Rebbe had this ability to make a person feel that he was part of the kavanah. You know what I mean? He had something positive and individual that he could give that somebody else didn't have. And therefore, there was a guy which you guys probably know. My memory of names is terrible lately. But there was a guy that he was a football coach. I've forgotten his name.
Coach.
Who?
Coach.
His name?
He was a football coach. And he had a very difficult situation in life and the whole thing. And he became like I think it's hard to say about Tshuva, yeah? And he would come to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe would make him live, and he would mamish, you probably know that, he would mamish change, it's a mahusay. And so once, he came to one of my Farbrengens, not because of me, he came to a Farbrengen that I made. And somehow or another, I said something that he liked, or ich weiß, and so he sort of formed a kesser with me. I even have home, I have to look for it, but I've got it. I've got cards that he wrote to me after I went back to Alef. Yeah, for a couple of years he used to write me these cards. And he used to tell me everything that was happening with him, and I was pretty pleasant. So once, I happened to be standing not far from, when I say standing, I was probably sitting, but I was not far from where he was. And the Rebbe Mamish made him another individual altogether. I happen to know a little bit about the background because he'd already told me. He made a whole sort of confidential post out of me. He would tell me all his secrets and everything, yeah. And so I knew what was going on in his life, and he didn't have an easy situation at all. And yet, there was one time when the Rebbe said to him, Chaim, and the Rebbe, encouraged him and gave him koyach in such a way that he managed, he just became something different altogether. And I remember he came up to me after the Farbrengen, because he knew that I was not that far away. He said, Rabbi Gafni, did you see what happened? In English, he said to me. I said, yeah. He said, I will never be the same man again. That's what he said. Those were his words. He said, I will never. Does he understand English?
Yeah.
I don't understand English.
Am I supposed to know this? Yeah. So he said to me, Rabbi Gafni, he said, I'll never be the same person again. That's what he said. I believed him. It's absolutely built the. So do you remember him, Mendel?
Yeah, I spoke to him.
Yeah. And he was pretty, and he passed away now. Quite a few years ago already. Amazing story. But I just remember that expression that the Rebbe said to him, Chaim, and the Rebbe gave him those unbelievable, immeasurable moments in time to him, and he was a different person. And that happened the whole time. And I want to tell you, the first time I was by the river, this is before I got the kosher brochen nest. Even before I had the yechidus in the Seres Meichur, which is a very rare thing. It never happened. Not for me especially, but there was a special yechidus that the Rebbe made in the Seres Meichur. Yeah, very rare. Ben Kesserly also, for certain special people. And I had a reason why I wanted to go into I wasn't sure if I was going to be available. I had to go somewhere when the Rebbe would make a chiddush for the Outsoldiker people. So Rabbi, you knew Rabbi. Rabbi persuaded me that I should write in. And I should ask the Rebbe if I can come in with these people, because the Rebbe said that chiddush only for these people. So I said, I can't write in it. So Rabbi said to me, you write in. He said, I'm telling you, he said, you write in. So I was shaking hand and everything. I wrote in. And I asked the Rebbe if I could also come in that night for Yechidas. So I went in to Yechidas after a medal. I was standing in the line. Before me was a medal. Yeah, I went in Yechidas after a medal. First time ever. First Yechidas. So that day, by day, I didn't know what the answer was. I didn't know what was going on. So I remember I went up to the office to look for Ben Yohan Klein. Maybe he might know if there was any answer, whatever. So I didn't find him in the office. So I walked down into 770. What do you do in 770? You go down to 770. I went down into 770, and all of a sudden I see over the other side, Ben Yohan Klein. So I move over in that direction, and all of a sudden he sees me and he says, oh, Gafni. He used to call me Gafni. Gafni, he said, he said, I'm looking for you all over the place. In Yiddish. Ich suchte herum, I'm looking all over. So I said, what? He said, der Rebbe hat mir gesagt, du sollst reingehen bei Nacht auf Yechidus. He said, the Rebbe told him, the Rebbe said to him, he said, tell Gafni that he should go in tonight. Yeah. And it's just, my whole life became, I was like a different person, I was living in another world. And that's the Rebbe had that amazing, unbelievable koyach. And that's what he does to us at a Yom Hazeh. If you just tune in on the right helicopter wavelength or whatever, Arutz, what they call it nowadays, if you just tune in, it's the same thing. The Rebbe makes you, he changes you. You're not like you were a minute before. You get things done. So, Gafni, what you should be doing, it's maybe ain't a road. Or at least you're doing. Yeah. There's an old saying in Jerusalem, two guys meet, and one guy's sort of stationary, and the other guy seems to be moving. So he says to him, what's with you? So he said, you've been doing, I'm here, this is my place. And the other guy, he says to the other guy, what's with you? And he said, I'm traveling. He said, ik voor. So he said, if I'll reach anywhere or if I'll really get anywhere, I don't know. He said, oh, ben time ik voor. He said, I'm moving. So the guy, But it was staying in the same place. His eyes jump out, you know. And he says, oh, he said, "Voil bist du?" He said, "Du forst." Yeah, he said, "Happy are you? You're traveling." I said, "You're moving." You're moving. That's what the Rebbe does. That's what the Rebbe does. So anyway, that year was Rosh Hashanah was Thursday, Friday, and then Shabbat Tsfat was immediately one Hamza, 3 days. So the Rebbe made a Farbrengen, Shabbat Tsfat, pity place, amazing Farbrengen. I remember, so I got a spot right up near, on the tables, right up near where I was sitting like at a table, but right up, you know, not far from where Yo Khan and these guys were, you know. But they were a little bit to my left, I'm over this side a little bit. So somebody says to me, "Listen, man, you have to say L'chaim to the Rebbe." You know? I wasn't familiar with all the things that go on. Somebody says, "You have to say L'chaim." So I get somebody to pour me a little bit of wine, and I sort of, you know, I'm trying to attract, I'm sort of down here, I'm sort of looking like this, you know, and I'm sort of trying to attract the Rebbe. All of a sudden, the Rebbe looked at me and he sort of gave me this look. It was amazing. And then all of a sudden the Rebbe sort of went at me like this 3 times what he said. I tell you, no, it's good. And here I am, I'm sort of out of attention. At this moment, you know, completely, utterly, you know, took off the Gafni. And then when he finished doing that, he sort of gave me another look and he said, "L'chaim or Livrocha." He answered my L'chaim. So that set me moving for years afterwards. Those 3 times I dealt with the Rebbe's cook. That gave me the ability to overcome a lot of problems and to move ahead. So that's the Indian, guys. We got everything is there, everything. But we just have to tune in. The Rebbe is looking at each and every one of us in that way, and he gives us the koiches. We just got to, you know, do it. And as the old saying, I remember my mashpil said to me, "Alles is good." He said, "I feel, I'm afraid a diuk in a moment, it's all good." He said, "Over a kasha doesn't trade." He said, "Kasha doesn't." He said, "Diukim yo over kasha doesn't trade." You're not allowed to ask a kasha, you know, a kasha told me. Yeah. Well, I just move ahead and pregnancy kashas. Yeah. Mendel, what do you say, man? We have to be matzah. Kein Chomens Teugnis. We have to be matzah dikin. A matzah dikin means that a leader if you want to have a bit of an open up a bit, then you'll be like the Shtei Alechem. But the Shtei Alechem were Yiddish Chomet. They were already had occurred Matzadik Chomet. Matzadik Chomet. So the other morning down in the province over here, I was learning on Shabbos morning, this mama that I told you, where, you were there. So the Alter Rebbe says over there that the whole mile of matzah, he brings from the Tikkun Ezeh, the whole mile of a matzah is that it's a prusa, be'eter. The Ike Ina of a matzah is a prusa, very good. So he said a prusa indicates bittel, it's a half a thing. It's not a ganze Sache, it's a Ina from bittel. So I think it was you, man, or somebody, you or somebody else who was sitting there, said, but it started off as a shleimer, and then it became a prusa, but at the beginning it was a shleimer. So what's the answer? The answer is that if you're a real matzah, even when you're a shleimer, you're really a prusa. Even when you're a shleimer, but you're really a prusa. For says, in the middle, you know that your whole material is that you're only a half. You understand? You're a piece. A piece. It doesn't have to be a half, a piece. A broken piece. And that's the whole, the whole mila of a matzah is that he's a prusa. And the Tikkun Ezeh says that Daki Aridei, the matzah has the ability to bring all the brachas and all the amshoches and all the, come through the matzah precisely because he's a prusa. You can be whole. You don't have to walk around hanging off a heart. You can be whole. But inside your whole, with a W-H-O-L-E, inside being whole, you have to be a person. I don't know if, maybe it sounds crazy, but that's the way it is. And you should realize that those few words in the Kutita, the Support, the Alter of the Kilo goes even before himself. He's all in favor of Melech. He's in favor of Kabbalah, Pnimis Atera, Limud Pnimis Tam, Birurim, Matela Zahim. He's in favor of all that. Then all of a sudden he says that matzah is before all that. Matzah is in other words, matzah, even when I'm on a shleima, a bittel. And that's the way to relate to what we learned tonight. And then you tune in to the Mayim Mishisihu, not only to the Shem Havaya, but the Mayim Hashem Havaya, to the Keh HaAtzmos Mana. I said, Kach is a Katusha. It's written before us. And that's what he says, that Moshe Rabbeinu is, how do you call it, the Mamutza HaMachaber. That's what the Rebbe writes there in our bracket. That you got two types of Mamutza. You have a Mamutza which is like a mavdil between them, but it causes a kesher between them. And then you have a Mamutza with the whole, that Mamutza is only to be mechaver the two things, boyfriend, to make them one. Not to bring a message from this one to that one, and in that way to join them, but to make them mamish one. That's called a mamutza hamachaber. That's Moshe Rabbeinu, mitzad that koach ha'atzmos, the ina von Yudal of Nissan, but that's the ina von mamutza hamachaber. I remember if you have a shaykhes, but that you're only a makaber, b'hatchala, you get, how do you call it, stuck together. Yeah. Well, how do you call it, there's a mind that some tzaddik wrote a huge amount of chassidus. But there's a mind that some tzaddik where he said, bitachon, a yedoi. So he says, bitachon, you hear? The word bitachon is from the word toch. But toch means, toch is a bias, to stick two layers together. So he said, bitachon, it entices that you stick onto the Irish. You join up, you become, how do you call it? You stick onto it and you become like, as it were, part of it. Yeah, that's the type of bitachon. Yeah, man, that's a mamutz, a mechaber. The mamutz that joins in such a way that you stick on. And you're like one, the kola nager, the poem, you one material. No. Anyway, the Chaim. So the Rika, only Yidden should have a kosher and afraid of the Pesach.
Amen.
Over the end was a kosher and afraid of the Pesach, it will all be by the Korban Pesach.
Amen.
First of all, Korban Pesach. Afterwards, you eat the Suda, make a Seder. But first of all, they used to be marked to Korban Pesach. Is we all have to be together with the river about the Korban Pesach.
Amen.
Plenty of time. David, in Herefayim, there's no Herikot, no Shia. In Herefayim, ain't you? So there we are. What do you say, Mordechai?
Now.
We're all agreeing that we're all meeting up
Now.
by the Korban Pesach. You're right. Korban Pesach is only in a couple of days. You want now.
Now. What do we
You better.
Korban Pesach. It's Yir Alef Nissan.
It's how do you call it? Don't put things off to another date. Let's be realistic. Good. Okay, guys. L'chaim.
Chaim.
What do you say?
Chaim.
I've got a whole little Pesach kitchen all going.
Amen.
I've got it all working. Right alongside in a little cubicle, there's a washing machine. All of a sudden, the washing machine flooded. Just before I came, it flooded the whole Pesach kitchen. It shows you that you think you're doing good.